The community hall was buzzing long before the event even started. People from the neighborhood had come early, hoping to find good seats, excited to see the renowned pianist who was known not only for his talent, but also for his warm and humorous personality. Even though the hall was small compared to the big stages he usually performed on, he had agreed to play for this charity event without hesitation. He believed music should reach everyone, no matter where they came from. That belief made him loved by many. The hall itself had a cozy feeling. The wooden floor still carried faint marks from years of events, school programs, small weddings, community meetings. The scent of old curtains mixed with the fresh polish on the piano, creating a strange but comforting blend. People chatted softly as they settled down, and a gentle excitement floated in the air. Near the second row sat a quiet woman who didn't try to draw attention to herself. She had arrived early and chosen a seat where she could see the piano clearly. She looked calm, almost peaceful, as if she was content just being a part of the audience. She kept her hands folded neatly on her lap and occasionally smiled when she overheard someone whispering about how special the night was going to be. Soon, the lights dimmed slightly, and the pianist walked onto the stage with a friendly wave. The crowd clapped cheerfully, some standing just to show how grateful they were. He wasn't dressed fancy, just simple clothes that made him seem even more approachable. He sat down at the piano, adjusted the bench with a playful gesture, and cracked a small joke that made the crowd laugh. That was his way of breaking the ice, making everyone feel comfortable. He started with a light-hearted piece, something gentle and warm, letting the music settle into the room like soft sunlight. The audience swayed slightly, some closing their eyes, some tapping their feet. The sound of the grand piano filled every corner of the hall, reaching both the front row and the very back seats. People who had never been to a live concert before felt something new growing inside them, a mix of amazement and comfort. After the first few pieces, he turned toward the audience and began talking casually. He told stories from his tours, funny moments that happened behind the scenes, and a few embarrassing things that made everyone laugh again. The hall felt less like a formal concert and more like a gathering of friends. As he scanned the audience, his eyes paused on the quiet woman sitting in the second row. Something about her calmness made him smile. Maybe it was the way she listened so seriously, or the soft expression on her face. Without thinking too much, he pointed toward her and joked, "Would you like to come up here and take my place for a moment?" His tone was playful and the crowd chuckled. Everyone assumed she would shy away from the idea. But the woman didn't react the way people expected. She didn't wave her hands or shake her head in embarrassment. She simply gave a small smile, the kind that showed both politeness and a hidden quiet strength. She hesitated for just a heartbeat, then slowly stood up. The laughter from the audience faded almost instantly. People looked at one another, unsure if she had misunderstood the joke, or if she was actually accepting the offer. Even the pianist, who had meant it purely as a light-hearted moment, was caught off guard. She walked toward the stage with calm, steady steps, not rushed or nervous. There was something graceful about the way she moved, as if she didn't mind the eyes watching her. The room grew silent, except for the soft creaking of the wooden floor as she made her way to the piano. The pianist stood up from the bench, half amused and half curious, and motioned for her to sit. He wasn't sure what to expect. He assumed she might tap a few random notes and laugh along with everyone, and that would be the end of the moment. Still, something inside him felt a small spark of intrigue. She sat down gently on the bench. Instead of fumbling or looking lost, she adjusted the bench height with a natural movement, as if she had done it many times before. The pianist's eyebrows lifted slightly. People noticed. A subtle whisper spread across the audience. Her fingers hovered above the keys, not trembling, not hesitant, just waiting. The room, which had been full of chatter minutes earlier, now felt like it was holding its breath. Even the sound of someone shifting in their seat felt loud. The pianist stepped back a little, giving her space. His playful smile was replaced with a look of genuine curiosity. He realized that maybe this wasn't going to be just a funny little moment. Maybe something special was about to happen, though he couldn't explain why he felt that way. The woman took a slow, deep breath. Her eyes softened, as if she was remembering something deeply personal, something from long ago, the kind of memory one keeps tucked inside the heart, hidden from the world. For a brief second, the audience waited in complete silence, not knowing what to expect. The hall felt strangely larger, as though the moment itself had stretched the space. People leaned forward slightly, drawn in by a feeling they couldn't explain. Then, without warning, she placed both hands gently on the keys. Her posture straightened, and for the first time since entering the hall, she looked like someone who truly belonged at the piano. The pianist watched her carefully. Something deep inside him shifted. He didn't know her story, didn't know what she was capable of. But he sensed that whatever was about to happen would not be ordinary. The quiet moment before the first note felt like the calm before a hidden storm. Not a destructive one, but the kind that clears the sky and makes everything feel alive again. And just like that, the stage was no longer about him. The entire room was focused on her, the quiet woman from the second row who, until that moment, had blended into the background like any other guest. Now, she held the center of attention without even trying. No one in the hall, not even the pianist himself, had the slightest idea that the next few seconds would completely change the atmosphere of the room and leave everyone stunned. But in that moment, all that mattered was the stillness, the space between her breath and the first note she was about to play. The woman's fingers hovered above the piano keys for just a moment before she pressed the first note. It was soft, almost hesitant, yet perfectly placed. The sound filled the hall, capturing everyone's attention immediately. People shifted in their seats, some leaning forward, some holding their breath. The pianist, who had been expecting a playful moment, stopped moving and watched intently, curiosity taking over his usual humor. At first, the music seemed simple, delicate, as if testing the waters. But within a few seconds, the woman's confidence grew. Her fingers moved across the keys smoothly, almost dancing, producing a melody that was beautiful and emotional. The audience could not believe what they were hearing. They exchanged glances, some with wide eyes, some with hands over their mouths. Everyone felt that this was something special, something unexpected. The pianist stood a few steps back, silent for the first time in his life while someone else played. He noticed the subtle way she used the pedals to make the notes linger, the delicate pauses she created to let each sound resonate. Her technique was flawless yet natural. It wasn't the polished, rigid style often seen in competitions. It had warmth, emotion, a story behind it. People in the audience felt their hearts being pulled along with the music. Some closed their eyes, letting the melody carry them. Others whispered to their neighbors, trying not to disturb the moment, saying things like, "Can you believe this?" And, "Who is she?" The woman was playing as if she had been doing this her entire life, and yet she had only just appeared on this stage. It was almost unbelievable. Her hands moved faster now, yet with perfect control. Each note was clear and precise. The audience felt that she was telling a story without words, a story that connected with everyone in the room. The pianist, who was usually confident and in charge, felt a strange emotion he rarely experienced. Pure awe. He could see the subtle strength in her back, the way she leaned slightly into the music, and he realized she was pouring her entire self into this performance. The melody grew stronger, more expressive. It was no longer just music. It was an experience. People could feel the emotions behind each note. Joy, sadness, hope, and longing all intertwined. Some of the older audience members had tears welling up in their eyes. Younger listeners were wide-eyed, completely absorbed. Everyone was silent except for the piano, which seemed to speak louder than any words could. It was clear that this woman had been trained professionally at some point, though she carried a depth and emotion that went beyond formal education. Her music was alive, breathing. The pianist watched, almost forgetting that he was there as well. He had played countless concerts, yet he had never seen someone capture an audience so completely without preparation, without warning. Every movement she made seemed natural, yet astonishing. The audience was completely captivated. Every note seemed to ripple through the hall, touching hearts and minds alike. Some people shifted in their seats to get a better view, unable to look away. The children who had come with their parents stared with fascination, imagining the music floating in the air as a kind of magic. The hall, once full of quiet conversations and small rustles, was now a sacred space of complete attention. The woman did not rush, even as the piece became more complex. Each chord she struck was intentional, filled with emotion. Her eyes were sometimes closed, sometimes open, and each moment carried a different feeling. The pianist noticed her subtle expressions, the small tilts of her head, the deep breaths she took between phrases. It was as if she was communicating not just with the piano, but with everyone listening. After a few minutes, the music shifted to a slower, softer section. Her hands glided across the keys like they were telling a secret. The sound seemed to hang in the air, making the audience lean closer in fascination. Every person could feel the story she was telling, though no one could put it into words. There was a delicate sadness, a beauty, and an honesty that was impossible to ignore. The pianist could hardly believe what he was witnessing. He had seen brilliant performers before, but there was something different here. This was not just technical skill. This was pure expression, raw and human. He realized that the moment he had offered as a joke had turned into one of the most profound experiences of his life. Suddenly, the woman's hands began to move faster again, and the music grew louder. There was energy, excitement, and a sense of triumph. The audience leaned forward, some unable to contain their amazement. People whispered to each other, "I've never heard anything like this," and "She is incredible." It was clear that everyone in the room felt privileged to witness this. The woman's performance was not just entertainment. It was a revelation. Even those who had never played an instrument could sense the mastery and passion. The pianist felt a smile spreading across his face, partly in disbelief, partly in admiration. He was witnessing something rare, something that would be remembered by everyone present. As the piece reached its final section, the notes became more delicate again, slowing down, softening, fading gently into silence. The last note lingered for a moment, trembling in the air before disappearing. For a second, no one moved, no one breathed loudly, as if afraid to break the spell. The pianist looked at her with newfound respect, and the audience stared in stunned silence. Finally, a gentle clap started from the front row. Slowly, it grew louder, spreading throughout the hall until everyone was clapping, some standing, some wiping tears from their eyes. The applause was thunderous and genuine, a tribute to the woman who had walked in quietly from the second row and played as if the piano had been waiting for her all along. The pianist returned to his seat, humbled and amazed. He gestured toward her, inviting her to take a small bow, which she did with a soft smile. The audience's cheering seemed endless. People were talking to each other excitedly, sharing their astonishment and gratitude for being part of this incredible moment. The woman's performance had done something extraordinary. It had captured hearts, bridged gaps between strangers, and reminded everyone of the simple power of music. Her presence on the stage, which had started as a joke, had now become a moment of wonder, one that no one in the room would ever forget. The pianist knew, even as the applause continued, that this was just the beginning of a story far bigger than the stage of that small community hall. The moment she finished playing, the hall remained still for a few seconds, as if no one wanted to disturb the fragile spell she had created. Then the applause started slowly, a soft clapping from a few people near the front. It built gradually, growing louder and stronger until the entire hall was filled with thunderous applause. Some people stood on their feet, cheering, clapping, and shouting words of admiration. The woman smiled humbly, her hands resting gently on her lap, acknowledging the audience without drawing attention to herself. The pianist returned to his seat with a mix of awe and curiosity. He leaned closer to the woman and whispered, "That was extraordinary. How long has it been since you played like that?" She looked down for a moment, a quiet sadness crossing her face before she spoke softly. "A long time," she said. "I trained when I was younger, but life had other plans. I didn't think I would ever play in front of an audience again." The pianist's eyes widened slightly. He had expected a casual hobbyist, someone tapping the keys for fun. Instead, he had witnessed someone who had been a trained professional, someone who carried years of dedication, emotion, and experience within her fingers. He felt humbled and deeply moved. The audience, still clapping, began to whisper among themselves, curious about this mysterious woman. Many were eager to know who she was and what her story might be. Some tried to imagine how she could appear so suddenly and yet perform with such mastery. Others speculated quietly that she must have been a hidden talent, someone who had been overlooked by the world for years. After the initial applause settled into soft murmurs of admiration, the pianist stood and walked toward her. "Would you like to tell the audience a little about yourself?" he asked gently. He was careful not to pressure her, knowing that some people prefer their stories to remain private. Yet he felt it was important for the world to hear, to understand the depth of what had just happened. The woman took a deep breath and nodded. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully. "I studied piano seriously when I was young. I dreamed of becoming a professional musician, but life had other responsibilities. I had to care for my family, and I had to work to support them. I stopped performing, and I thought my chance to play in front of people was gone forever." The audience listened in silence, captivated not just by her music but by her story. Many people in the hall could relate in some way to her sacrifices, to putting dreams aside for the sake of life's demands. Some felt tears welling up in their eyes. There was an authenticity to her words, a human vulnerability that connected everyone in the room. The pianist nodded, his respect for her growing even further. "What you just played," he said, "was not just a piece of music. It was a story, a journey, a life expressed through sound. You have reminded us all of the power and beauty that lies within talent, no matter how long it has been hidden." People continued to whisper, their admiration turning into quiet conversations about hope, opportunity, and the hidden talents around them. Some said that they would remember this night forever. Others thought about their own dreams, wondering if they too had put aside something that they still carried within themselves. The woman, still sitting quietly, seemed unaware of the ripple she had caused, simply focused on the music that had flowed through her hands. The pianist, sensing the crowd's curiosity, asked, "Would you like to play one more piece? Something of your choosing?" She hesitated for a moment, then nodded gently. Her fingers returned to the keys, moving with the same quiet confidence as before. The hall fell silent once more, everyone leaning forward, eager to listen. The piece she played this time was slower, more reflective, yet no less beautiful. It carried a softness and a tenderness that touched every heart in the room. The music was gentle, like a quiet conversation between her and the audience, filled with emotions that words could never capture. The pianist watched her closely, noticing the subtle nuances in her playing. The way her fingers lingered on certain notes, the delicate pauses she allowed, the small shifts in tempo that gave the music life. It was clear that she was not just performing. She was expressing herself, sharing her past, her struggles, and her resilience through every note. By the time she finished, the applause was even louder, more heartfelt. People were on their feet again, cheering, clapping, some wiping away tears. The woman bowed slightly, acknowledging their appreciation without any arrogance. Her presence on the stage had transformed the atmosphere, turning what began as a playful joke into a moment of profound inspiration. After the applause died down, the pianist invited her to sit beside him. They talked quietly for a few minutes, discussing her experiences and how she had maintained her skills despite the challenges of life. The conversation was personal and sincere, revealing not only her talent but her strength and resilience. The audience watched, fascinated by this human story unfolding before them. They could see the bond forming between the two musicians, the mutual respect and admiration. Some people in the crowd were inspired, thinking about their own hidden talents and the dreams they had set aside. Others were simply grateful to witness such an unexpected and moving performance. By the end of the night, it was clear that this woman had made a lasting impact. Her story, combined with her extraordinary music, had left everyone stunned. People would talk about this event for years, remembering the quiet woman from the second row who had taken the stage as a joke and revealed herself as a hidden gem of talent. The pianist, still amazed, reflected on the evening. He realized that sometimes the most remarkable performances come from the most unexpected places. It was a reminder that talent does not always announce itself loudly, and that life's circumstances can hide brilliance for years. Yet, when given the chance, that brilliance can shine in ways that leave everyone in awe. As the audience filed out of the hall, many came up to the woman to express their admiration and gratitude. Some shared their own stories of dreams put aside, and others simply thanked her for reminding them of the beauty of music. She accepted their words with humility, smiling softly, as if she had always known that music had a power beyond recognition. The pianist stayed behind, helping to pack up the piano and other equipment. He kept glancing at her occasionally, marveling at the transformation that had taken place. What started as a light-hearted joke had become a night of revelation, connection, and inspiration. He knew that this was a story he would carry with him, a story of resilience, talent, and the quiet strength that can sometimes go unnoticed until the perfect moment arrives. In the quiet of the empty hall, the echoes of her music lingered, a reminder that even the smallest gestures, the simplest opportunities, can uncover greatness. The woman, who had walked in quietly and accepted a playful challenge, had become the heart of the evening. Her performance, her story, and her presence would remain in the minds and hearts of everyone who witnessed it, a testament to the enduring power of human talent and spirit. After the performance, the woman stayed on the stage for a while, letting the applause settle. The pianist, still amazed, approached her and spoke softly, wanting to understand more about the person behind the extraordinary music. He could see the strength and humility in her, and he felt compelled to learn about her journey. The audience had begun to settle down, whispering among themselves, but all eyes still followed the woman, curious about her story. She began to speak slowly, revealing the path that had brought her to that quiet community hall. She had trained in music from a young age, showing remarkable skill that promised a professional career. Her teachers had praised her talent, her dedication, and her sensitivity to the music. She dreamed of performing on big stages, sharing her art with the world. But life had other plans. Family obligations, financial struggles, and the need to work for survival had forced her to leave that path behind. For years, she had put her dreams aside, focusing on responsibilities that could not wait. The pianist listened attentively, captivated by her honesty. Her story reflected resilience and quiet determination. She had never given up entirely, even though the world seemed to have closed doors around her passion. The way she spoke about music revealed how deeply it was part of her identity. It was not just a skill. It was a source of life, comfort, and expression, something she had carried within her all along. The audience, though quiet, felt the weight of her words. They could sense the sacrifices she had made, the long years spent away from the stage, and the courage it took to finally step forward. There was an unspoken connection forming among the people present. Her story became their story as well, touching anyone who had ever abandoned a dream or wondered if their talent had been forgotten. The pianist smiled, a mixture of admiration and respect. He realized that he had unintentionally created a moment for someone to reclaim a part of herself that had been hidden for too long. He felt honored to witness such a transformation. The way she had performed was not just skill. It was the resurrection of years of suppressed passion, and he understood how rare and beautiful that was. People in the audience approached her after the event, eager to express their gratitude and amazement. Some shared their own stories of lost opportunities, of passions left behind due to life's demands. Others simply thanked her for reminding them that talent and determination do not fade away completely, that even hidden abilities can shine when given a chance. She accepted their words with quiet humility, smiling gently, acknowledging their appreciation without letting it inflate her pride. The pianist and the woman spoke together on stage for a few more minutes, discussing music, life, and how certain moments could change everything. The pianist suggested that perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter for her. She listened thoughtfully, considering the possibility of performing more publicly again, feeling the stirrings of confidence and excitement that had been dormant for years. For the audience, the evening had become more than a performance. It had become a story of hope. They had witnessed a person step forward, overcome self-doubt, and reclaim a piece of herself through the simple yet profound act of playing music. It was a reminder that life can offer second chances in the most unexpected ways, and that even the quietest, unassuming individuals may carry brilliance within them. The community hall, which had once been filled with casual chatter and laughter, now carried the echo of inspiration. Every seat, every person, had been touched by the woman's performance and her story. The pianist, usually accustomed to applause and praise for his own talent, found himself reflecting on the depth of human resilience and the way passion could endure through hardship. He felt a renewed sense of purpose in sharing music, knowing that the smallest encouragement could unlock extraordinary moments. The woman herself felt a mix of emotions: relief, joy, and a quiet pride. She had walked onto that stage with no expectations, only accepting a playful offer. Yet, she had found herself performing not just for fun, but with authenticity and courage that revealed her true talent. The audience's reaction, their astonishment and admiration, validated not just her skill but her perseverance, reminding her that the years spent away from the piano had not been in vain. In the days following the event, the story of her unexpected performance began to spread. People spoke of it in conversations on social media and within the music community. Videos circulated, capturing the moment when a quiet woman from the audience transformed into a brilliant musician. Many were inspired by her courage and skill, seeing in her a symbol of hidden potential and the power of opportunity. Music schools, enthusiasts, and local musicians reached out, offering support and collaboration, eager to witness her talent and learn from her experience. The pianist stayed in contact, encouraging her to consider performing again, perhaps in a more structured setting. He offered guidance, connections, and his own experience to help her navigate a world that had seemed closed for so long. Together, they began to plan small performances, collaborations, and workshops, exploring ways to share her music with others while rebuilding the life she had once dreamed of. The impact of that night extended beyond the hall and the immediate audience. It became a story of inspiration for anyone who felt their dreams had been lost or put aside. It reminded people that talent can endure quietly, waiting for the right moment to reemerge. The woman's journey demonstrated that even life's interruptions do not have to define the end of passion, and that courage, when paired with opportunity, can create moments of wonder. The pianist reflected often on that evening, understanding that it had reminded him of the core of why he played music: to touch lives, to create connections, and to uncover beauty in unexpected places. He realized that sometimes the most memorable performances were not just about technical perfection, but about the human story behind them. That night had been one of those moments, where music and life intertwined to create a shared experience that left everyone changed. For the woman, the night was a turning point. It rekindled a spark she thought had been lost, giving her confidence to pursue her talent once more. She felt gratitude, not just for the applause, but for the opportunity to step back into a part of herself that had been waiting quietly for years. She understood that her journey was unique, shaped by resilience, dedication, and the ability to seize an unexpected moment. The community hall, once ordinary and familiar, became a symbol of possibility. It represented the place where hidden talent could shine, where dreams that had been set aside could find a path forward. The pianist, the woman, and the audience all shared in that transformation, each carrying a part of the experience with them. It was a story of human spirit, of perseverance, and of the quiet magic that occurs when someone is given the chance to show their true self. In the end, the woman's story was not just about music. It was about life, about hope, about the courage to reclaim what had been lost. Her performance, her journey, and the reactions it sparked reminded everyone that brilliance can be hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to emerge. That night, the pianist had unknowingly created a space for a quiet hero to shine, leaving an impression that would linger far beyond the last note of music and the final round of applause. The days following the performance were filled with unexpected excitement and new opportunities. The video of her performance had spread quickly, and people who had never met her were suddenly reaching out with messages of admiration. Music enthusiasts, local musicians, and even teachers from prestigious music schools wanted to know more about the woman who had taken a playful invitation and turned it into something extraordinary. They were amazed at how someone could appear so unassuming, yet carry such talent within them. The woman was both overwhelmed and grateful. She never expected her simple acceptance of a joke to create such a ripple of attention. But she also felt a renewed sense of purpose. For years, she had played in quiet moments, practicing alone, never imagining she would have the chance to share her music publicly again. Now, the world seemed to recognize what she had carried all along: the skill, the dedication, and the emotion that could touch hearts. The pianist reached out to her frequently, offering guidance, support, and advice on how to navigate the sudden attention. He suggested small performances, collaborations with local musicians, and even workshops to inspire others who had hidden talents. She listened thoughtfully, feeling the excitement of a new chapter beginning. She began to realize that this was more than just a fleeting moment of recognition. It was a chance to reclaim a part of herself that had been waiting quietly for years. She started practicing more deliberately, not just for herself, but with the idea of sharing her music with others again. Every note became a bridge to the people who had been touched by her performance. She explored pieces that reflected her emotions, her journey, and her renewed passion. The more she played, the more confident she felt, and the more her performances resonated with audiences who could sense the authenticity and depth behind every sound. Local music schools and community centers invited her to perform and even teach. She hesitated at first, unsure if she could step into these roles after so many years away from public performances. But the memory of that first night, the applause, and the astonished faces in the hall reminded her that she had a gift worth sharing. Slowly, she accepted these invitations, feeling a sense of purpose and fulfillment she had not felt in years. People continued to talk about her unexpected performance at the charity event. Many shared their own experiences of putting aside dreams due to life circumstances and were inspired to revisit those passions. Her story became a symbol of hope, a reminder that talent does not disappear simply because life becomes busy or challenging. The idea that a hidden talent could reemerge so powerfully gave courage to countless others. The pianist often invited her to join him in larger performances, sharing the stage and collaborating on pieces that highlighted their combined talents. Each time she played alongside him, she felt the thrill of music flowing through her, but also a sense of belonging and validation. The audience, familiar with her story, responded with admiration and joy, celebrating not just her skill, but the journey that had brought her to that point. Despite the growing recognition, she remained humble. She never sought the spotlight for its own sake. Instead, she focused on the music, on the moments of connection with the audience, and on the simple joy of creating sound. Every performance was an opportunity to share a piece of herself, to inspire others, and to celebrate the resilience of human passion. Her life began to change in subtle ways. She found new friendships through music, forming connections with people who shared her love for the art. She discovered mentors and peers who encouraged her to explore new styles and techniques. The world that had seemed so closed off for years began to open, revealing opportunities she had never imagined. It was a reminder that talent and determination, when given a chance, could create new paths even after years of uncertainty. The community hall where it all began became a symbol of transformation. People would speak about that night for years, remembering how a simple joke turned into an unforgettable experience. For the woman, it remained a place of inspiration, a reminder that sometimes life gives unexpected opportunities that can change everything. The pianist often returned there as well, reflecting on the magic of that night and the way it had reminded him why music mattered so much. As her reputation grew, she remained grounded in the lessons she had learned from her journey. She knew the value of perseverance, humility, and the quiet strength that comes from believing in oneself despite obstacles. Her performances were not just demonstrations of technical skill but celebrations of resilience, hope, and the human spirit. People who witnessed her play often spoke about the emotion and authenticity in her music. They felt a connection to her story, a recognition that life's challenges do not diminish talent or passion. Her story inspired others to take small steps toward rediscovering their own abilities, whether in music, art, or other areas of life. It was a ripple effect, showing that one person's courage could influence and encourage many. Over time, she found a balance between her personal life and the growing opportunities in music. She managed to support herself, nurture her family relationships, and continue performing in ways that were meaningful and fulfilling. The joy of playing, the connection with audiences, and the recognition of her abilities created a life that felt complete, rich, and deeply satisfying. Looking back, she realized that the moment she accepted the pianist's playful invitation had changed everything. It had reminded her of the power of taking risks, of stepping forward even when unsure, and of trusting in her own abilities. That single act, simple and unassuming, had opened a door to a life that was fuller and more rewarding than she had ever imagined. The pianist often spoke about that night with friends and colleagues, always emphasizing that the most remarkable performances are not always the ones planned or expected. Sometimes the magic happens when someone is given a chance, when a quiet talent steps forward, and when an audience is willing to listen with open hearts. For the woman, every performance afterward carried the memory of that first night. The silence before her fingers touched the keys, the astonishment in the audience's eyes, and the joy of realizing that her dreams could still take shape. She continued to play, to share her music, and to inspire others, knowing that the world had once underestimated her, but now recognized the strength, beauty, and emotion she brought to every note. Her journey became a lasting example that talent can lie dormant but never disappears, that dreams can be revived, and that human courage and perseverance can lead to moments of extraordinary wonder. The story of the quiet woman who accepted a playful challenge and left everyone stunned lived on, touching hearts, inspiring lives, and reminding everyone that sometimes the greatest surprises come from the most unexpected places.